Hey, people, it is agony, dude. It is fucking agony. So, sometimes you see the most retarded memes on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Memes made by people with an IQ lower than room temperature. And this is one of those memes. So, we've got what people think were traditional samurai weapons. You've got, samurai swords. You've got katanas. Probably, it looks like a katana. It might be a nodachi. Hard to tell without like something to scale. Really, they're very similar. It's just size difference. And then what were actually traditional samurai weapons. Now I know the quality of the picture is low, but if you can't tell, there's a fucking katana on his hip. So kind of a fucking bozo moment when you fucking the old picture that you use depicts them having a fucking katana on their hip. So by that logic, yes, it is indeed a fucking samurai weapon. Now, I'm pretty sure that like implication here is that samurai didn't use swords because this actually comes from a Reddit post that I saw where the dude was like, "Well, actually, samurai never used the katana. It was actually a status symbol. Katanas were never used on the battlefield. Swords were never used on the battlefield, which is fucking retarded." Okay, if you look at the word nodachi, which is our word for huge sword, it quite literally means battlefield sword. This is a sword you bring to the battlefield with the intent of using it as your main weapon. You don't bring a fucking other weapon, like I don't know, some kind of like spear like you're a peasant or some shit. No, you bring a fucking nodachi, right? You bring a fucking kanabo. You bring a naginata, right, which is like a halberd, but Japanese. And you bring your fucking matchlock fucking weapon. So here's another picture. As you can see, more reenactors with what are these swords? Because when an enemy gets close to you and you don't have time to reload, your bozo head is gonna pull out a sword. Oh look, another reenactor, and what is this? He has a sword. Where we've got an actual painting from the actual time period. And what is that he's carrying on his hip? Oh, it's a sword, okay? And this is actually a kind of hand cannon, so this is a very old picture indeed. If it's not reproduction, probably a reproduction. Another probable reproduction. What is this? It's a sword you see sticking out. What is this? It's a drawing of soldiers. These are kind of your Ashigaru. These are your lowest ranking soldiers. They've got body armor on. Which, that's another thing that I saw posted. Oh, actually, samurai soldiers didn't have armor. They went into battle wearing tunics. That actual thing that these armchair historians say. And I swear to God, if I see another retard post, oh, actually, all they had was silk robes on the battlefield, I swear to God, I will find you. These are Ashigaru. These aren't light Ashigaru. Light Ashigaru actually they would have a equipment similar to a Gamberson, except with little steel plates, octagonal or hexagonal, depending on the exact maker, plates all over the armor itself. But what is this? They're carrying a sword in a rifle or musket. More likely a musket. We can't tell unless we look into the barrel, but it's probably a musket given the time period and given the fact that these are armored targets. Again, muskets were used instead of rifles for quite a long time because it turns out that when you put rifling in the barrel of a gun, the bullet travels slower because it spins, and you've got the kinetic energy going forward being converted into kinetic energy moving to rotate the round. So obviously, you don't want that kinetic energy going forward to be wasted. So you use a musket, which is smoother. And look, we have a picture. Again, this is an actual picture from the around 1850s to 1870s is when I would probably date this. We have a French musket. Actually, no, it might be a rifle. The mini. Don't quiz me on this, but do believe this was made in the 1850s. But that's about it. In conclusion, all the historical evidence, all the reproductions, and we would expect these reproductions to be faithful to the actual spirit because, again, we know that the Japanese have kind of an unbroken line of samurai houses and or samurai, traditions being passed down. So, in conclusion, yeah, if you say that swords were not used on the battlefield or that people didn't bring swords to battlefields, you're kind of a retard. And these are real arguments that real people make, despite the fact you can literally just Google it yourself. Hey, let me look up a picture of a period accurate samurai, and look at that, the bozo has a sword. Who would have guessed? But people just don't think. People just don't think. People, I don't know. I can't understand it. This whole swords didn't exist. You're a retard.